I'm going to show you how to check and inspect the rear differential fluid on your car or truck. I have a 2008 Nissan Frontier Nismo. This is a very similar process for many makes and models. There were two different axles for the Frontier. I believe this is the M226 axle. Yours may be different. This is one of the service items that I feel gets left out a lot. If you own a truck or SUV, you have a rear differential, you need to change the fluid on a regular basis. You can see the center pumpkin where you fill the fluid. The fluid then fills the axles all the way out, all the way to the axle seal, which keeps the axle fluid from leaking onto the brakes. Here is the fill port and the drain port. These are simply quarter head adapter fittings. Some rear differentials actually have to remove the case to drain the fluid. Luckily, this axle has a nice drain and fill port. And if the fluid were not tall enough, you would use an inspection device, such as a hanger like this, but we simply undid that plug, saw the fluid come out, saw that it was very clear, looking great. We're not gonna replace it at this time, but you wanna make sure that the fluid level is full. This one is, as the fluid came out of the fill port. And if it didn't come out of the fill port, I use a device like this to see the level that it's at if I can't get my finger in there with a glove. So other than making sure that the fluid is at the correct level coming out of the fill port, we also want to make sure that the color of the oil is still within reason. So this is not exact, but this is about what the oil gets when it's new, turns a little bit black. When it turns black, it can still be good, but it's about time to replace. You can expect to replace this about every 30 to 60,000 miles unless you're doing a lot of off-roading. And if you are doing a lot of off-roading, the fluid can turn even gray to black quicker, like the background of this picture, because it's contaminated with water. If the differential fluid has become contaminated with water, it's time to replace immediately. And it turns a kind of milky gray. It can be kind of confused with old black oil, but there's a big difference. Is the water contaminated oil is very cloudy, and the oil still, though black, it still has an oily consistency. So when I looked at the oil coming out of the differential, it still looked in great condition. It's relatively new, still very oily, not cloudy at all, not contaminated with water. Be sure to use the specific fluid designed for your differential, whether you need limited slip additive or a specific kind of fluid. This one calls for 75-140. Be sure to check your owner's manual for the correct fluid, even between Frontiers. And just make sure that that fill hole is completely tight, and then go ahead and wipe that down so that you can know if it's ever leaking. The front and rear axle do not carry a lot of fluid, the front axle even less, so be sure to check these components often, as I've seen this maintenance item go missed and result in costly differential repairs down the road. I'm checking this part about every 6 months or 5 or 10,000 miles. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, and please subscribe to the channel.